divinity is that set of infinite characteristics that is all encompassing. Everything and anything are in that ball of energy that we call it divine or supreme. You will hear this term repeatedly from me, and I'm doing it just because that is, in a sense, the message of the Gita and the Upanishads is that supreme ball of energy, supreme characteristics, everything comes together there. Now, that's great. However, to make it a little bit more practical and to feel connected, what you do is you take those divine characteristics and you infuse that into a physical form. Now, that physical form can be on a piece of paper. It could be in a metallic image. It could be in a personal form carved out of wood. It could be any of those. And when you do that, you end up calling it a deity. So, simple example, I can have two pieces of white paper, two white sheets here, just a regular letter size, two white pages. One is pure white, nothing written on it. But on the other one, I put it in the printer and I can print out a image or a picture of Krishna or Lakshmi or any of the other deities. And there you go. Now I have a white paper that I don't perceive much value from a divinistic attributes. But then the moment I see a white paper with Lakshmi or Krishna printed on it, one can perceive that to be a personal form of a divine. So a simple transformation from a plain white paper to a printed white paper gives you the perception of divinity. If you are a believer, of course, in a personal form. That's the very key aspect here. So you infuse these characteristics into a personal form. Now, when you do so, then when you infuse it, you could be infusing all of the characteristics, even though it's infinite, but you can perceive that you have infused all of the characteristics into a personal form and then give it a name. It could be Narayana, it could be Krishna, it could be Lakshmi, it could be Shiva, it could be anyone that you would give it, depending on the faith and the belief you have. Or you could infuse only a subset into a personal form. And you could say that subset is now Ganesha or Ganapati, as an example. And a subset for one person may actually be a superset for the other person, which means you may think Ganesha is only a subset, but for somebody else who has a belief in Ganesha, they may think, hey, Ganesha represents the entire gamut of all attributes and characteristics. So for that individual, Ganesha represents the entire Supreme itself. That's fine. It is their individual belief. There's nobody to question here or nobody to say one is right or one is wrong. But again, linking it back to the Gita and the Upanishad, you have this ball of energy with infinite attributes and characteristics now that you infuse into a personal form. That's what happens actually when you go to a temple. You would see a deity, also called as Vigraha. You would see a Vigraha, and they would actually do a coronation or they call Pratishtapana. They would do it. And that is the process and the set of rituals by which they are actually saying we are infusing all those characteristics in that stone Vigraha or in that metallic Vigraha. That's what happens when you go there. Now, prayer. This is where prayer comes. Prayer is a mechanism by which you connect to that personal form, to that deity. And it gives you a solace and a comfort that there is something to anchor to. And when you pray in an ideal sense, because a prayer could also be a transactional mechanism saying, God, I'm doing this for you, you give this to me in return. It could become a transactional, which is, by the way, not the way Gita or the Upanishad goes. Prayer has to be a selfless exercise. If it is a selfless act, then what you would really do is you would connect to that name and form, highlighting the divine characteristics of that name and form. So when you go to a temple, a lot of the hymns or the mantras or the sayings there are in essence highlighting the characteristics of that particular personal form of what's installed or what's consecrated in that particular temple. That is where prayer comes in. It gives you the ability to connect to a form of divinity, and in doing so, you feel that comfort, you feel at peace, you feel the aspect of a loving mother hugging a child. You feel there is somebody to take care of you. And that warmth, that love can move mountains, which is precisely why it's difficult to envision and connect to an abstract form, as Krishna says in chapter 12, but it is easier to connect to a personal form and feel that peace and warmth. Interestingly, in chapter 7, Krishna actually says, whatever form you believe in, whatever shape, whatever name you believe in, I will steadfast, I will reinforce that faith in that particular form for you. I being not Krishna as a person, but Krishna as that ball of energy. In that sense, yes, it is fully valid that in whatever form that you believe in, your faith in that form is reinforced, which is precisely why you keep a picture of a deity on your table or a loved one on your table or anything else, and you believe in that, and you then through that picture, through that image, you get a sense of satisfaction, you gain some motivation, you gain some inspiration out of that, you gain comfort out of it. That's where prayer helps, and that's how prayer has to be offered in a true selfless way, by connecting to those attributes of that divinity.